Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you. I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to uh, let you know why we're here before we get started. My name is Miss Natasha from Natasha Connects, and I'm happy to be with you. I created Create Don't Hate was born out of frustration. The frustration of individuals hating on one another for their differences. Just because of what what we wanted to start, just because of what we want to accomplish, it doesn't matter who and how we are. It just matters what we bring to the table. And I decided to start this Create Don't Hate campaign to share that notion, what we're capable of. We're full we're full of hope, courage, love, and building community and connection at the same time. Create Don't Hate is a real practical way of giving hope to others, sharing and my raw different self with you. I feel very happy and honored, and I wanted Create Don't Hate to be an anthem for self-reflection, observation of what other people are doing in their lives and their worlds, and just building up our community to be a better place. And I thank you for this opportunity and this time with you. If you can please share who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for holding this space, Natasha. Definitely such a pleasure to be here. So, I'm Mallory Meyer, and essentially what I do is I help spiritual entrepreneurs build a business that's profitable and aligned and really coming into a place of wholeness. And I know you and I just talked about this briefly, but an area of which removing these self-imposed conditions that we've taken on through our childhood, through society, and really embracing the truth and the magic and the medicine within us and cultivating that into service to elevate and expand the consciousness, the livelihood, transformational work within others. So that's in a nutshell, essentially who I am and what I do.
Why, thank you so much. I recently just met you, but just by going onto your page, I felt filled with hope and love because you're edifying the Lord. You're edifying the Lord, and you're edifying Jesus and what he has done and mixing it with business. And a lot of times we're kind of what should we do, what should we do, but in all honesty, the Lord has brought me out up and out of so many things. I have to still make sure that I include people like yourself.
Oh, I so appreciate that and receive it fully. It means so much to hear how you equally like receive that page and everything that I bring forward, because my intention truly is to not allow others to suffer in the sense of like the mishaps and the mistakes that I made. And there is so much in my past life and years here of like being so masculine in that energy and not having that hope and surrender and faith into accepting myself and loving all these parts of myself. So thank you so much.
Man, I just love it. I really do. I believe that my faith has brought me here as well. My understanding of whose I am has brought me here as well. And also just remembering that who is going to keep me in the comforted spaces. I think like stuff like that, even in my business, I never knew I had to also think about the Lord in my business and think about how I'm to act and behave. Should I say it? Shouldn't I say it? I'm just going to say that what I know is in my heart and not worry about those parts
Yes.
because that's the most important.
Yes, you bring up such an important piece there of like your empowerment, your confidence, and that energy that just radiates itself forward, and trusting and knowing like I can stand full, like grounded into this message. And whomever, like having that boundary of like, I don't need to please everyone. I'm not going to please everyone. this is just going to bring in more people in alignment in me showing up in that energy.
That brought me a big smile to my face. Thank you. And that was wonderful. Okay, so I'll get started. My first question for you is, did the industry you are in choose you, or did you choose the industry?
I really love this question because it's a little bit of a twofold, to be honest. Like the industry definitely chose me, but I also had to choose it. And it was through areas of like going through my own healing journey, but almost having to go through that pain of where I was in this other industry. So my background being much more in like the corporate professional side, and almost feeling how in like the dissonance that it was with my soul to be able to feel that tug so deeply in my heart of this is actually your path. And if you don't answer your calling, this happened to me of like physical manifestations appearing in my body and being so like rock throttled in my bed, crying every morning, not being able to show up to my fullest potential. And then as soon as I made that choice and that decision of this is actually the industry, this is where I can shine and where I can bring forth all my skills, all my talents, all this experience now that I've gone through in the pain to support others, that I chose it, but it was always on that other side, if that makes sense.
Oh, that is so wonderful. And sometimes like we have it all that time, but because we chose to be faithful, we chose to stand in who we are and whose we are. That's why it came to fruition. It opened up and made a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's never felt better in like my life of showing up. And it's only really been about 2 years that I've been in this position of truly leaving that corporate world and coming full time into my business. And so that's where it's been just like this beautiful unfolding each and every day to witness. I'm like, without a shadow of a doubt, this is where I need to be.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And
Mm-hmm.
then our next question is, what made you gravitate to the company you're in or create the company you have? So it kind of is the same question, but you could have chose anything. You could have made pottery.
Yeah, exactly,
Right?
right?
Like I'm gonna get some cement or whatever that is to make my own little pots because it's
Ceramics.
right.
Yeah.
There you go, the ceramics. So like you could have done anything. Why did you go that way?
Yeah. Beautiful question too, of like really honoring in some ways. I actually had created two business. I won't go into the depth of it, but I had two businesses created before this one. And it was trial and error in areas of which, you know what, I'm having a lot of resistance, I'm feeling stuck. And I hadn't fully completed that. There's never a completion to our healing journey, but I hadn't gone inwards enough to recognize my worth and the level of love to hold myself in, to realize like this mindset piece being so fundamental in an area in the industry that I serve that's keeping people stuck, that's keeping people still burnt out. And how can I now accelerate and get them the results that they're seeking? And so it was intertwining still pieces of my past of like being in business and timeless business principles, but really starting to leverage this metaphysical, the science of the subconscious mind, and really coming into like this harmony and dance with it to recognize how beneficial, like when I was able to get clear in who I'm serving, how it almost automatically brought forward the how. Now this is how I need to serve. And it was getting clear on like spiritual entrepreneurs and witnessing their pains, their constant struggles, and why they weren't creating those results and desires that they wanted to bring forth initially. So mindset is a very vague word, but to dive into it, there's so many beautiful pieces. And I think it kind of can get overlooked in some ways because we think that when we see someone have success, we want to cookie copy the strategy or kind of just take on pieces. And it's like, oh, that aesthetic worked for them. Maybe I can take on this. And it's always things outside of ourselves. And this is kind of that beauty of not just healing when we think about energy healing, but the mindset congruency and the alignment within our subconscious to recognize the identity that we actually need to become in order to be and do the results.
I have a question.
Mhm.
How do you get entrepreneurs or business people to separate or to gravitate to, you need time for your business
Yeah.
and you need time with the Lord,
Hmm.
and you need to say, this is something that is important, and this is, I'm doing it for him, but this is what I'd like. Like, how do you get them to separate those types of understandings and then put it all back together? Is that a process that would be like over the first initial time, or spread out within a couple of days or weeks?
Usually within a couple weeks more than anything.
Yeah.
Just to really identify, like we go through some exercises, not just like in releasing, but also tapping into like a theta state for clients that I work with. And that's really where we're speaking to your subconscious mind, where we don't have these like limits that we've been placing on ourselves, telling us in the sense of like, this is who I need to be, this is what's going to get me there. And like you mentioned, like holding what the, like whether it's source, divine, God has gifted us to really come back into like that truth of our own, into our heart space. So it's getting reconnected to the body. And so depending on the individual and where they're at when they come in to work with me, it can vary if it is a couple days, but you more often than not, we take that time to really just come into that spot of, so distinctly that this is how you're showing up in your mission. And that's kind of like the way of which I like to frame it, of how we tap into like your higher self and you start becoming them now and witnessing 3 years out, what's the life that you're living and how are you serving in a way that feels so expansive and magnetic and easeful. So yeah, I hope that
I feel
answers your
like
question.
that's so wonderful, because like I know what that feels like. And in the
Mm-hmm.
past two, since you, like you said, the past 2 years that you've started,
Yeah.
I felt like that. I felt like that
Mm,
inner, that in building your inner health and wealth
yes,
from the
1,000%.
inside out,
Yeah.
and
We
doing it through those ideals where, yes, why does this make you feel this way?
mm-hmm.
Let's delve into that so we can get you in a more open and honest self-reflection.
Yeah, the self-reflection and that coherence within your heart. And there's so many areas. I won't go too deeply into this tangent, but just in like our own reptilian mind being able to make decisions. And without that support of, let's say, a coach or having that accountability, we lose so much time and energy. And so when you're held and when you make that decision, you can feel the safety of knowing now I get to take aligned action towards it. And that's really parts of where we can get so stuck or feel resistance in making that move forward too.
Oh, thank you for those comments, because
Yeah.
that's exactly like the way you said is exactly how I pictured what you were saying earlier.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, so I'll go to the next one. Um,
Yeah.
did you go to college or university for your position?
I went to university and my background's in business administration. So not necessarily for obviously the CEO that I am
Mhm,
today, but
mhm.
it blended a lot of that timeless business principle. However, the caveat here is the offering that I hold is actually a sense of where I position it to say, this is kind of business school for the business school that you never got. Because I never learned areas how to run my business, especially again, tapping into the mindset, running it sustainably, having all the profits, like creating that. Business administration and university did not give me that. So, not necessarily would be the short answer. but it definitely, I don't regret the experience that I had in choosing to. And this is one of those ideals of just the conditions of I truly didn't make that choice from my soul and my heart. It was my parents saying, this is the ladder in which you need to move forward with next, and fell into that molding at the time.
All wonderful ways of saying you build a foundation of grace and greatness without even realizing that it was built already,
Mhm.
bringing you to this wonderful space now.
Yes, yes, 1000%.
Well, that's wonderful. Okay. The next one that I always like to ask is,
Mhm.
how do you navigate hope?
I love that word,
Mhm.
because we can get challenged by that daily if we don't make that choice. And I think that the word in itself, choice, is bringing back the sovereignty of, so there will be unfavorable times, and especially in making that decision again of being an entrepreneur, it's almost to embrace, how am I going to navigate hope? And how am I going to
You're just, yes. Sorry, keep going.
but really in that sense of unconditional love, and unconditional love to the business that you're operating, and unconditional love in who you are being, even if there's like off days, and having that self-compassion, not holding judgment for potentially like having a day, especially as a female, like our hormones, and having to just juggle everything that life can throw our way. And so it's really in some ways just knowing that I can tap into like the long and the bigger vision here, and not getting so micro about it, like, oh my gosh, like today there's nothing happening for me in that sense, and playing a little bit perhaps more of a victim mindset. But when we go macro in that vision, this is one day out of 365 days this year. How much potential is there here to still create change, to pursue these passions that I hold, to reach my goal? So I won't keep it too long-winded, but definitely something that just wants to come through there of like navigating hope is finding the wins, being compassionate with yourself, and just embracing it for what it is. Like, what is the message here perhaps today that I just need to receive? And who am I being, the being and the embodiment through this?
That's right. Wow. Like, not that there's a right or wrong, but what you said is right. Like,
Mm,
I've learned to take it one step, even if it's a second.
yes.
Help parents that would speak to me with regards to changing a routine or building in a routine,
Mhm.
or the parent themselves needs a quiet time. I
Mm,
said use 1 second and start from there. Use a second. So 1 second, the child's gonna know this is what you can have available to you, and see how long it can build up. Instead of thinking, oh, they can't even sit for 10 seconds or 5 seconds, they're not going to. But
yes.
if you build in some things that they like and build in some things that they don't understand they're learning from, that's fun. You can get maybe 2 minutes, you can get maybe five, you can get maybe 10. Next thing you know, you have half an hour to yourself, even if they're
Mm,
standing or sitting right in front of you. So
yes.
I really do love that.
Thank you, and love that analogy with the lessons and how you apply it in your world too.
Yeah. I left preschool readiness in 2016 to go to school,
Yeah.
but I found a more important calling, like uh being with you and talking with you, and
Yeah.
also showing up as myself, so
Mhm.
then other parents with children with disabilities or special needs or exceptionalities can feel as though their child is capable, competent, and wonderful.
Love
So
it.
it kind of I kind of feel very passionate about this and
Mhm.
want to be able to talk more openly about having disabilities and it being okay, but yet it's not okay to um, kind of discriminate with regards to school, employment, education, and family, and
Yeah.
keeping our mental wellness uh, a priority. And
Mhm.
it does include faith,
Yes. And
and
I just
that's
love
a
how you
big thing. That's a big thing, and I think like when we're younger, yeah, we may not understand, but you need to snatch it up really fast. Because
Yes, put that in your pocket, hold on to it, and, like, truly you're leading by example, which
yeah,
is
and
so
I
incredible.
know I'm not as knowledgeable and in like memorizing things, and but I know how it is to be nothing and made into something.
Mhm.
I
It's
know what
so
that feels
cool.
like. I know what it is, and I'm not going to be afraid to say it anymore.
Love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Congratulations.
Okay. So the next one is in your opinion, how does one become great?
Mhm. It's almost kinda tying into, like, what we were just saying,
Mhm.
coincidentally enough, right? Like, becoming great is such a deep acceptance and faith and belief more than anything in yourself of honoring what it is that you not what it is, but who you are at the core essence,
Mhm.
and really coming into, like, the greatness of appreciating an obstacle, a barrier, however you may wish to like use the wording of witnessing that to be such an opportunity that has been gifted to you to stand in this greatness because there is always an industry and niche, someone out there that needs to hear what you have to say, that's struggling and dealing with the exact same thing. And so that's where leveraging our voice and truly coming into like the expression of our throat chakra and knowing so deeply. You're wearing all blue and it's tying in beautifully to like the color of the throat chakra as well, of like the expression of I get to be great because I know that I'm this person and I love the person that I'm being. And I have this belief that that can instill greatness in others too.
That gives me such a hug because last year I learned about some things like this.
Yep.
And my main thing is to focus on my by using my voice, the throat
I
chakra.
love that.
So it's so
Mhm.
funny you even said that. And the color I wrote
Yeah.
usually is pink on Fridays.
Oh, I'm taking the
So,
pink
see,
reddish
so
here.
there you go. There you go. So it still came to fruition, right? And I
Yeah,
decided just to wear blue. So
I
there you
love that.
go. Wow.
Mhm.
I
It was
love
a
that.
message from
Yeah.
source that just wanted to come through.
Yeah. I feel like that's the part that I was ignoring. So I got
Yeah.
a lot of hard.
Uh,
A lot of hard. When I stopped ignoring and I started asking for wisdom and strength to get through what the seeds I planted from my past,
mhm.
I started everything and everyone started to clear out. And yes, there is still stormy skies, but it's clear skies from here, right dear.
Yes.
Right?
Sometimes storms come just to clear the path, right?
And however hard you have, again, that notion of my grandmother used to say, I don't have my glasses. Can you read this for me? And I'm like, why, grandma? You know, now I know why.
Yes.
Now I
Speak,
know why.
speak. Yep.
So
Sometimes the biggest struggles too are our gifts, right? Like the gift of like the thing that's the hardest to utilize, your voice is your gift. And
that's
that was like one of the biggest things. Yeah.
I've come to this realization, and I'm now taking the steps, however small, however big, to
Mhm.
make it happen. And
Mhm.
not just by what I think I should do, but also what we think we should do. What do you say? Okay, yes, let me do it. And even me saying that, it's kind of like, because it's supposed to be what is said. Yes, I'll go do it. But hey,
Mm, love it. Yes.
okay. The I will just say for this time being that this is the last question.
Yep.
Um. Oh, sorry about that. How do you maximize the return on your time? Well, I
Mm,
think like just like for me,
mhm,
executive functioning extremely hard. Extremely
mhm.
hard. I would have to find like that's why we have all sorts of virtual assistants, Fiverr, all these types of things,
Yeah.
and YouTube University.
Yeah, exactly.
But how do you take like that? Do you take small increments? Do you span it out in a certain length and then you stop and then you go? How do you do that?
Two ways, like specifically to this question. One is I find actually scheduling in time, and it might seem so like simple to say, but if I don't schedule in like something so mundane of for my work, it's going on social media and creating copy sometimes, right? Of like creating that content. And for me to actually put it in my calendar and say, I'm going to give myself an hour of time here, I remain constrained because there's actually like a law to that of if we don't set the time, if I don't give myself the hour, I'll spend 4 hours doing it because my mind doesn't see that I'm held to this constraint. So it's almost creating within me that urgency and also keeping me so dialed in and focused. The other aspect that's not maybe so pragmatic in the sense of like just scheduling in the time of what I need to do would be first to actually assess what is creating my results. And I think this is where, especially as entrepreneurs, we lose sight and we lose focus of the actual thing that takes us to a straight line of the results. So,
Wow.
for example, it could be I actually found myself in this thought the other day. Like, I need to create a landing page for a master class that I'm going to hold. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't actually need to create the landing page. I can just put it up on my stories and get people to sign up, communicating the words and saying the right like positioning to what it will offer and getting their emails through a link, right? It doesn't need to give my energy, my time, my focus into the nice to haves.
Yeah.
What's going to create the results? So that's kind of like the example there, but really getting clear. Once again, we know how you're serving, who you're serving, what you're offering. Now, what actually is a priority? What comes into your calendar in that case to be that priority? And not getting lost in, I need seeking out more because you already are enough and trusting in that enough.
Oh. Put record a timer for 5 minutes before. So I'm sorry for that disruption.
No worries. I barely even heard it.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
But I really do I ask these questions because I want to know and I want to learn. I'm
Hmm.
not like I know it's like a simpler one, but it's like so difficult for me that at
Hmm.
least if I do some of these types of things, I can be more successful. And
Definitely.
not only like just for everyday life, but also in business.
Hmm.
Yeah.
A
So
thousand percent.
y- I just want to say, thank you. I want to say thank you I always say thank you for being you because it's just something like I'm this person that likes to chit chat in the line sometimes. Or
Hmm.
I'm the person that says good morning to everyone because I want someone to feel that ray of love and sunshine and happiness. And
Yes.
so I really do appreciate you and what you're doing, and you're such a lovely person.
Thank you. Likewise, mirroring right back to you. Definitely. I so appreciate this opportunity to connect with you more.
Thank you.